Hello and welcome everybody to the Medic Side Hustle podcast, the podcast for clinicians who dream of scaling beyond the clinical realm and redefining their value on their own terms. I'm your host, Dr. Shubhendu Kulshreshtha, an executive coach and an emergency physician, helping clinicians like you make medicine their side hustle. In each episode, we're going to sit down with an inspiring guest who's redefined their career, turning their strengths and experience into something greater. First, we'll dive into their journey, learn how they got started, what drives them, and the lessons learned along the way. Then, in a true coaching style, we'll work through one of their current challenges live on the show. What would you like to get clarity on is going to be the question. And at the end, live audience will get a chance to ask us questions that come up for them. So this isn't just a podcast about side hustles and quick money. It's about the fact that one thing clinicians truly and really want is to make an impact. And if you're ready to think bigger, create something meaningful, and bring the itching ideas into reality, you're in the right place. So let's get started with today's guest, Dr. Marc Picot. Thank you very much for joining me, Marc. I'll give you a quick minute to introduce yourself to everybody.
Thank you very much, Shah, for the introduction. So my name is Dr. Marc Picot. I am a doctor and GP in the Jersey and the Channel Islands. I am also the founder of an initiative called Vape Free, which is designed at creating awareness around vaping in our current society, the impact that it's having, and ultimately helping people who have a vaping addiction to have a hub of resources and support available for them to help them quit.
And I know we've kind of discussed this early on, but just give us a quick run through how you got started in this space in the first place.
Okay, so this is like many founders of startups get into it, this is a passion project for me. So this spans back about 3 years, and includes my clinical relevance. So as a GP, to cut a long story short, I was becoming burnt out, and eventually I did become burnt out. And it led on to an episode of depression. This depression spanned for about 3 years. In that time, it was difficult to treat, as they define it these days, instead of treatment resistant. So I was put on multiple antidepressants, couldn't really find the right one. And I was getting a terrible side effect from the antidepressants called akathisia, and not just antidepressants, other different classes of drug. For those who don't know, and it is another under-recognized and under-managed problem. It's basically a side effect from medication, mainly psychotropics, but antipsychotics being number one. It's intense restlessness and agitation, difficulty in sitting still. So it's got a massive motor component to it. You just cannot sit still. I wouldn't be able to sit still for more than 5 minutes doing this interview if this was a couple of years ago. And it's got a subjective component to it as well, and that's sort of the emotional dysregulation, anxiety, intense irritability. Anyway, so I was under the 2 tertiary centres in the UK, one for the depression and one for the akathisia, and none of the medication designed for the akathisia was working. I eventually found an antidepressant that helped me, but I had this side effect as a result. So it was good. My depression was better, but I still had this really, really distressing side effect. Went through a number of medications, none of them really helped, about 4 or 5. And then I found one scientific paper in the literature that showed there was a cohort of 17 patients with akathisia as a result of antipsychotics, and 15 of them improved with nicotine replacement therapy. So, well, it wasn't replacement. They were put on patches, and 15 of them got better. And I was a desperate man in a desperate situation. I knew it wasn't the ideal thing for me to do, but I tried nicotine in the form of vaping. The reason I tried vaping over a transdermal patch was because of a lot of medications I tried gave me immediate side effects that were very intense and distressing in severity. So I did it in the form of vaping because it's obviously much shorter lived, the half-life, etc. So I thought I'll try vaping. And it's to do with basically an imbalance between your dopamine and noradrenaline levels. The theory is your dopamine levels have massively dropped and your noradrenaline levels are sky high. So you're in the flight or fight mode all the time. So that's where the nicotine comes in. And I tried it, and not only did it not work, within 1 to 2 weeks, I'd gone from occasionally trying it to becoming fully addicted to it in the clinical definition terms. So morning to night, I was vaping all day, every day. So when it says on any packaging, nicotine is highly addictive, it says it for a reason. So
Wow.
it is. So that's through personal experience, backed by statistics. So Professor Nutt, the leading professor in the UK on advisory about drugs and alcohol research, so it's third in level of addiction, the potential behind heroin number one, cocaine number two, nicotine number three. So I was hooked. I was hooked for 6 to 8 months, and it got to a point where I thought I've got to stop this. I just have to stop this. This is not good for my health.
And were you a smoker before?
No, I never smoked.
So you went from being a non-smoker to trying to manage the side effects of medication and becoming addicted to nicotine through vaping.
Exactly.
And for people who aren't, so you went from being a non-smoker to trying to manage your symptoms and becoming addicted, and you've not got a vape around your neck. So somehow you've managed to get yourself off the nicotine.
Mm-hmm.
What was your experience through that?
So that's a very good question. So basically, I first of all just did some online research. So when I say research, just basic stuff, finding websites, finding online resources, any self-help stuff. And the quality of the information I found was very variable. There was some scaremongering involved, which I didn't like because as a clinician, I value my integrity and my credibility. And for example, popcorn lung, never been in the UK before, not associated with vapes. That was due to contaminated THC vape. So there was a lot of stuff out there of variable quality or a very basic quality, just like when you try sipping more water or going for a walk. And I'm thinking you probably need a bit more than that. Like you need a little bit more than that. Like it's a high dependency substance. I just thought, the stuff out there's first of all there's a scarcity in the resources. Secondly, in the resources available is of very variable quality, either basic or not evidence-based. So that was from an online perspective. And then I approached my local Help to Quit service, who basically don't want anything to do with vaping. Nothing at all. They're very much in favor of using vaping or e-cigarettes for tobacco harm reduction purposes, which I have no problem with whatsoever. It's actually the number one method of choice to get people off of smoking, and that is the priority. But we'll come on to that later on. So all their resources, all their funding, it was all placed into smoking cessation, and they themselves openly admitted, including the clinical lead, there's not much evidence behind it. Vaping cessation specifically I'm talking about. And there's no license if you want to go down that route. Nicotine replacement therapy other than one called Nicorette Mist, which is more of a craving management rather than a baseline management. So they didn't help. So there was no online sort of informal self-help stuff of value. There was no formal support that I could find locally. And then I went digital in the form of apps. So I looked through the App Store. I tried to find an app that would help me. I tried various apps. And again, I didn't find a single app that was of good quality. And by that, I mean both from a design perspective, so from a user interface perspective, the aesthetics of it, the user experience, how it flows, etc., to a content aspect of it, so useful, helpful resources for people to read about, inclusion of behavioral support, CBT techniques, which is incredibly important in helping people quit addiction of any kind. It can't just be a replacement. You have to double prong approach, if I can get my words out. it's not just about reducing the substance or quitting out. It's about focusing on the behavioural aspects. None of them combine the two. And I just thought I could do better, and I want to do better because I want to help people quit vaping. So in summary, it led me to where I am now, which is that I've set up this online platform which houses lots of useful information and resources, all free to use. So it's not just for current vapers, it's for concerned parents on how they may approach or talk to their child about the subject and about if they know their child is vaping, how to talk to them. It's for schools about how to implement into their curriculum about vaping and just short workshops. It's about the creation of a blog where I'm going to house lots of different sub areas about vaping. So from withdrawal, for example, to education, to statistics, to my own personal journey. And also I'm in the process of I'm interviewing. I've got five therapists I'm interviewing, which will be my final round this week. So I'm including formal vaping therapists that I'm personally vetting and interviewing, and making sure that they've appropriately experienced, etc., for the job. So I'm including them on the platform as well. So it's going to be a one-stop shop where you're going to have access to resources, education, therapists, and then about the app itself as well. So the app's going to be something that's in progress as we speak.
Okay, so to summarize everything that you've said so far, the smoking industry, massive and huge. The anti-smoking industry, massive and huge. The vaping industry, big and growing. The anti-vaping industry, kind of struggling, really. There isn't much support out there. You experienced it firsthand yourself. And then you made it a mission to help other people become vape-free. And that's how you came up with Vape Free. So you're working with therapists, you created an app, you're creating resources, really pushing for the mission. What I'm not hearing in any of this is your urge or want to make passive income or to make a lot of money off the back of this. You are very much mission driven. And I think that's one of the reasons why I really wanted you on this podcast, to show everybody how when you are driven by a mission, what all becomes possible. So let's switch the lens a little bit to the entrepreneurial side of it, because it is an entrepreneurial venture when you are leading with a mission, when you're trying to get a tribe around what you believe in. How would you summarize that for us?
So this is my first venture into entrepreneurship, but I did actually have an online travel agency, but that is a completely separate venture that didn't succeed. But I learned a lot from it. Any failure is not a failure. It's a way to learn. I learned a lot from it in terms of things that are relevant to what I'm doing now. That's things like marketing, social marketing, website design, user acquisition, client acquisition, okay. So that was my first venture into sort of branching out from medicine, shall we say. This current journey is a solo journey for now. So I'm a solopreneur, if you want to put that little technical term on it. This is all done by myself with the aid of freelancers. I am the team, me, myself, and Irene. So everything that you see is the creation of myself with the help of freelancers, which can create problems in itself because they're of obviously varying quality and degree of work. Having an in-house team would be ideal and something that I'm looking to build as I scale up. But for now, it's just about me. So, well, it's not just about me, it's me as the team. So in terms
That's
of...
really... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was saying that's such an interesting place to be. So you found a mission, your own journey, plus obviously a little bit of the clinical hat and the GP experience, and the want to make a difference came together in saying, okay, let's do this. And at the moment you're on this journey and learning little bits and pieces of non-clinical skills like sales, marketing, influence, and all of those things. What's your take on doing courses and certifications in this realm? Often there's a lot of small courses or like things on online platforms where you can do certifications around business startup, for example, or just sales and marketing, any one of them. Was that ever a route you thought? I mean, a lot of people I speak to often feel like they need to get more skills and they want to start with getting those skills and then saying, okay, once I have those skills, I'm going to start doing something. Was that the approach you took as well?
No, is the short answer to that. I believe, as we had a quick chat before we went live, so I believe through learning as you progress. I don't believe in perfection before launching or before starting your mission or your drive. I believe in learning through experience and getting something out there. Going back to the vaping, there's a ban, as many people might be aware, June 2025 for single-use disposable vapes. The largest users of which are children and young adults. So there's going to be a number of options when that ban comes into place. There's going to be a big black market for them, which will either be legitimate vapes that just adults will acquire off the internet, but they may contain high degrees of impurities. They may contain much higher strengths of nicotine. 5% of vaping products are imported from China. They are MHRA regulated, but very loosely. So the point I'm trying to get to is that there is a sense of urgency in what I'm doing because they've got a number of options. Buy black market. The worst case would be switching to smoking, or educate them and help them to quit. So I am wanting to get myself out there now in preparation for that day. So I'm learning as I'm going along, but yes, I do want to do things like Udemy courses, as you said, would be very useful. Someone that you connected me with, I'll give him a shout out, Wesley Fogel, was very helpful. I had a video call with him, and I've done a course through him about fundraising. Although it's not a certificate that I can sort of pin up on my profile anywhere, it's very, very useful. So from a fundraising perspective, marketing, I learn a lot about through, although it's not formal certification or getting a certificate for it, just following online like LinkedIn thought leaders and things like that, and following their feeds and how they market. And so from both a social media perspective and from a website perspective. So for example, I follow both generic bloggers, and then I follow more niche bloggers, i.e. healthcare bloggers, on how to create a good blog, how to SEO everything, get your keywords in to get your market, to get high visibility and rank up on Google. But it is something that I would like to do, and I think would be useful. As I'm sure with everything, it's just finding the time to sit down and formally go through these courses while I'm trying to do the job of five individuals.
Absolutely. I mean, from the perspective that I'm listening from, I'm hearing you start off with getting clarity about what is it that you want to work on, what's the problem you want to solve, the niche clarity, followed by how are you actually going to do it, what's the value that you're creating, and then learning to communicate that value, and then strengthening your journey through networking and collaborations. Those are the few things coming across to me. And I mean, this part of my 7 pillars of making medicine your side hustle. And if, for those who are interested in figuring that out for themselves, there's a quiz in the comments that they can access, and it'll help them understand which of those pillars they need to target next. But for any of our listeners who align with your mission and who want to be a part of what you're doing, what can they do to support you?
So it's funny you asked me that question because I did a LinkedIn post last weekend, and I just put an image of the word help out, and how I hope that people could help me. Now I'm not scared to ask for help. I don't think anyone should be scared to ask for help in any region, any area of life, let alone help with your business. If people perceive it as weakness, then my personal opinion is I perceive it as a sign of strength. You identify where your weaknesses are, then you ask for help to strengthen those weaknesses. and showing transparency and openness is always a sign of strength, in my opinion. So there's various pillars that people could help me from. And these are, before getting specific, I can break it down into generic areas. So people that can lend me any form of time. This might just be a half an hour chat on LinkedIn, or it might be, say, an hour over a video call, or any length of time whatsoever people can lend me. I would be very, very, very grateful. The passion. I've got a fair few people say to me, I think your initiative is great, it's brilliant, I think it's, good luck to you. So I want to turn that passion into people actually injecting something into the business, and not just the business, but the campaign that I'm wanting to run and the impact that I'm wanting it to have. So if someone can help me with their passion in whatever area that they lie, that they think they can help, then again, that would be absolutely amazing. As I've said, I'm a one-man team, so resources. So if people can help with their specific area, whether that's helping me with a social media marketing strategy or a content strategy, whether that may be helping me connect with, say, for example, addiction therapists or addiction specialists, whether that may be networking with potential investors, any form of resources. Obviously, one thing that I mentioned on the post as well is cash, and it's not something that I'm asking for on this call. It's something that I'm just asking people to bear in mind, that if anything that I've said resonates with you, or resonates with not just you personally, but the impact that you perceive that my campaign or business is going to have on society. I'm running a fundraising round, a crowdfunding round soon. So any donations, no matter how big or small, would be very, very welcome. Because I'm bootstrapping, it's all my own personal investment I'm putting into this, and that can only take me so far before cost of living takes over and I'm screwed. So so that's something else. So broadly broken down into those areas. Reach is something that I think is exceptionally important. So at the moment, I'm sort of under the radar, but I'm growing. My traction's growing, and I want to have a massive reach to the market that I'm in, and that is vapers who want to quit. I want to be shown in front of them, and I never push to say, this is all bad, you need to stop right now. My sort of memo is that I want to give people the education, credible resources and statistics, and for them to make an informed decision on the pros and cons of what they're doing as to whether they want to quit or not. And if they want to quit, I'm there to help. I'm there to help. The therapists that I'm onboarding are there to help, and my new app is there to help. So if breaking it down those sort of pillars, and then specific areas, networking with potential investors to help me scale up from an MVP to a full scale app. Marketing is obviously going to be essential. So more therapists that are fully accredited under a registered body. Addiction specialists, specifically vaping therapists. If anybody knows any vaping therapists, that would be great.
Or watchers who are aligning with your mission, just want to get the word out there. Anybody struggling with vaping, anybody wanting to support through whatever skills you have, reach out to Mark. And am I understanding that right, that LinkedIn is the best place to find you?
LinkedIn, yeah. So LinkedIn's the perfect place to find me. If obviously this is a live event on LinkedIn, so you'll all have my LinkedIn. You can also reach out to me via my email address, which is on my LinkedIn profile. And so those two channels are probably the best way to get.
Yeah, and I'm just going to spell your name out, Marc Picot. So Marc, and the last name is Picot, Picot, so people can find you. Let's switch gears a little bit and take the next 10 minutes to sort of just explore your current state where you are right now. And is there something that you're looking to get clarity on in terms of the next steps?
I think Because this is my first venture into the entrepreneurial space, and I have, although I have clarity on my business vision, my strategy, where I want to go, how I want to get there, how I need to get there. It, of course, involves money to scale up. I want to reiterate that this is a passion project for me, and that my main desire is to reach as many people as I can, and in particular, children and young adults. But for me to get the reach, for me to start to scale up, I need funds to help me, in particular, to build the app from MVP up to full scale app, and to get user acquisition onto the app. I will have to market heavily, and I have a specific strategy in mind, which will be involved social media and backed by paid ads. So the clarity that I need is sort of how to gain access to investors or particular investor schemes or grants that people may feel that I'm eligible for. So it's more from an investment perspective. So I know I have a few in mind already. So I'm going to apply for the SCIS, for example, doing some networking with some angel investors, but that's something in particular that would be very useful for me. So networking and connections. So it's about how to raise funds from I'm sort of in a weird stage that lots of people have advised me on, that it's going to be difficult because I'm in like a pre-seed stage where I have a concept, I have a vision, an idea which I'm extremely passionate about, which will be very impactful. But that's not enough for an investor to buy into. Most of the advice that I've received, people will have their own opinions on. But I need advice as to how I'm going to get someone to invest in me when I will have an MVP, but there's no point in having an app in the app stores and it being invisible because I haven't backed it up with 20 grand for example, as in marketing. So I need advice as to how I built a pitch deck, for example, but I've got stuck on a couple of slides in terms of what to put, because obviously having milestones, having metrics, having data usage, having revenue, I don't really have those things. So advice on a pitch deck, for example, or someone for just to have a look at it and say, I think this area is good. I think this area needs development. Here's an idea. So yeah, so in terms of clarity, I think clarity on fundraising would be a particular area of use.
Okay, and so you've got a little bit of the what to do's and the where to find the people, and it sounds like you've got advice from a couple of different people in terms of what needs to be the next steps for you getting there. And I'm hearing the challenge for you being creating that pitch deck in a way that it's compelling for the person who's reading it or listening to it to be able to say they want to invest in you. And you mentioned some specific places in there in terms of the metrics and numbers that need to be included. But from your perspective, when you think about putting it together, what's the challenge that's holding you back? Is it just the knowledge, or?
It's not well, the knowledge is part of it. Yeah, it's just
Okay.
the advice that I've received off of people who are credible, such as your friend Wesley and other medics who are sort of involved in the entrepreneurial space, and then even people who aren't medics in the entrepreneurial space, who are just saying, look, you're going to find it really difficult for people to invest in a concept, an idea, which is what you are at the moment. They will have investors will have heard it all before. I'm incredibly passionate. I'm driven. I've got a strategy. All of those things and more. Like, I'm exceptionally driven. This is an impactful mission that I'm on, backed by my own personal story. And hearing stories and seeing stories about children in particular has given me the drive beyond belief. I've got the business strategy. I've got it all in place. I know what I need to do, but I'm lacking the funds to achieve where I need to get to take it to the next stage, which is full-scale app, backed by marketing and heavy marketing, which all my competitors lack. So it's not holding me back. It's just people are saying you're going to find it difficult. That doesn't mean I'm not going to try. I'm going to try. Don't get me wrong. But it's just my chances of success based on the advice that I've received is sort of, I wouldn't use the word negative because it was advice. It was useful. My chances of succeeding without having those key metrics like downloads, user ratings, reviews, revenue, of course, is going to be difficult for someone to invest in me, and I'm talking about angel investors here, without something tangible, to have that tangible data. So nothing's holding me back in terms of approaching them, but what is holding me back is my current mindset after speaking to people that I believe are credible sources.
And so what would be the ideal mindset you'd want to be in?
So the mindset I want to be in is that I'm at a stage, or I receive feedback to tell me that I'm at a stage from people who have been through this several times. They're entrepreneurs. They've been through the funding rounds. Is that you are at a good stage to approach investors. So you have a good pitch deck, a compelling pitch deck, with key slides that will attract angel investors. You've got milestones on there. You've got metrics. You're good to go. And when I say good to go, I mean like you have a high chance of succeeding. So that's the mindset that I'd like to have. But I'll go back to what I said before. It's not going to stop me from doing it. I'm still going to approach people. If I get 100 no's, I might get the 101st yes.
Yeah.
So I'm still going to do it. I guess from the information and advice I've received is that I'm going in there with hope rather than expectation. And I would rather be going in with expectation rather than hope, if that makes sense.
Okay. We've also got Junaid in the comments saying that he likes the stepwise and graduated approach you're taking. So you've got some feedback there to start off with. What I'm also going to reflect back to you is that I'm hearing there's two things you're on a mission with. So there's the whole vape free bit. There's you want to help people get free from vaping in many different ways, including therapists, data, information, education, and campaigning. And then there's this bit about your app, which will be the platform through which you help people, and you're looking for investors for this app. And what I'm hearing is that you perhaps not yet ready, and the bit about money and funding, test the app, create the app and test the app is what's holding you back from getting to the investors. Is there any way, or what other ways could you get investors involved in your mission?
So just to clarify, the MVP version of the app I've bootstrapped to, and it's in build as we speak. The developers have said 3 to 4 months until it's developed, which aligns with June. So I'll have an MVP in the market by June, June 2025. Single-use vape ban. Sorry, I've lost train of thought. What was your question?
No, that's okay. I was asking you, apart from just the investing the money bit into your app, what other ways could you get these investors on board with your mission?
So in terms of investors per se, I need funds in general. So investors are just one aspect of it. So things like going through the SEIS to get to be attracted to angel investors. But I'm not just looking for investors. So crowdfunding on crowdfunding platforms, looking at grants that I'm applicable for both in Jersey and in the UK, because I've got my main market's going to be the UK. I've got a business set up in the UK, so it's registered in the company's house. So I will hopefully be eligible for UK grants as well. So it's not necessarily investment, because that is just one route to the funds that I need to achieve to scale up. The advantage of having an investor on board is not just money, it will be hopefully their mentorship, their expertise and guidance, which I'm always open to and more than welcoming. I think everybody needs to learn from, even if you're at the top of the game, you're still learning. Even if you're at the start of the game like me, I am learning. I'm on a steep trajectory, but I'm a quick learner and I'm enjoying it and I'm thriving on it as well.
Absolutely. I think this has been such an exciting journey for everybody to hear about. And I'm just going to say to our listeners that we're going to be going into the last 10 minutes of Q&As in another 2 minutes or so. And I guess the closing question I'd ask you, Mark, is, so while your MVP is being developed, so you said around June, in the next 3 or 4 months, what's the one thing that would be the most leverage in terms of your actions over the next 4 months?
What to leverage my actions?
Which action would give you the biggest leverage over the next 4 months?
I think what would give me the biggest. Sorry, could you rephrase the question?
Yeah, so you've got your MVP developing over the next four months or
Yeah.
so, by June roughly, and in that time you're connecting with investors, you're looking for funding and all of these other bits, and you're pushing a mission forward. In terms of the actions or repeatable activity that you could do, what comes to mind in terms of being the one thing that's going to change things for you going forward?
I think it's developing the marketing strategy and campaign. I've luckily, well, this has got a bit tricky recently actually, but I've got a marketing strategy and campaign in mind that I need to do, and I will likely be employing a freelancer to do it. But there is a certain chap who anyone might know his name, called Stephen Cravatta, who is a young entrepreneur from the US. I think he's only 27 now. But Shub, have you heard of Wordle, or
Yes.
has anyone in the chat heard of Wordle?
I'd be surprised if someone's not heard of Wordle. It took over
I
the
hadn't
world.
until I discovered him. He created Wordle when he was a university student at the age of 20, a no-code app, meaning you don't have to have any expertise in it. And obviously it's become massive and he sold it. He then created a vaping app called No Puff. And literally it's very, very basic in its design. You literally have to tap a button on the screen every time you vape, and it's got a graph, and it's just designed to show a downward trend. So why was that successful? Because of his marketing strategy. He went on TikTok and did some videos. Now a couple of these videos went viral. He then tripled down on paid ads on these viral videos. That got user acquisition. And then he started generating an MMR of about $40,000 per month. So he's got a YouTube channel, and he's now exited. So he's given his strategy from start to finish, and that's what I'm going to follow. Where I say it starts to get slightly tricky, I don't know if people are aware of it, but there's this TikTok potential ban going on in the US at the moment, and that would be my main social media outlet.
Okay.
But TikTok, there's basically real concerns that the Chinese parent company, whose name is evading me at the moment, I think it's called Byte something. There's concerns about data breaches and about they're gathering lots of data, including federal data. So it was banned. President Trump's given a 75-day to get it. I was going to use the word inauguration, but that's not him. That's for the president, to get it reinstated. Like Microsoft, for example, are looking at buying TikTok off this Chinese. So that would be my marketing strategy. So that would be my one key focus over the next few months. I'm working closely with the developer team. I do have faith and trust that they can deliver a high standard product, guided by me in terms of how I want it to look, flow, and the content involved. But There's, as I'll say again, there's no point in having a premium app if you don't have visibility and reach to your end target market users. Acquire them, and then get all those downloads, reviews, ratings, and then the snowball effect. Then I can sort of dampen down on the marketing side of things once it's there in the App Store and it's got ASO optimized, and it will start to speak for itself.
Wow. And I'm really curious, how many of these ideas and next steps did you figure out by talking to people around you? And also if our conversation gave you any new insights or new next steps to go forward with?
Yeah, a lot, really. A lot of people sort of opened my eyes. So I'll give them a shout out again. Wesley opened my eyes about different sources for fundraising. Nate, I know, is listening. I hope he's still listening. He has been very, very helpful. His platform, Man Confidence, I know that he's developed, designed, and put a lot of time and effort in. So it's been very inspirational. Speaking to him has been very helpful. For example, guidance on therapy integration, which he has also had to do. Yourself from a coaching perspective as well, and yeah, just other people. And then a lot of it I've done in my own time, my own background. And I'm not going to lie, ChatGPT has given me a lot of ideas. So yeah, so ChatGPT has been my friend. I know getting how to know it. Like I'm a fan of. It's a controversial subject, but I am a fan of AI for generation of ideas, brainstorming before you go away, and then humanize and you customize your own outputs. So yeah, so those have been my.
That's amazing. I will admit to the ChatGPT as well. I think it acts as such a brilliant thought partner just to work through whatever you're coming up with, and just keep track of all of the million ideas that come up with when you're on this journey as well. Brilliant. So I think with that, we're coming to an end of our podcast. Thank you so much, Mark. Thanks for being with us today. And thank you to all of the listeners for tuning into Medic Side Hustles. And if you're wondering whether you're ready to make medicine your side hustle, try the quiz that's in the comments. It's a quick, insightful quiz designed to help you understand where you stand and what your next steps could be. I hope the conversation sparked some ideas and inspired you to think bigger about your career and your impact. Until next time, stay curious, keep solving big problems, and remember, you have the power to create something extraordinary. See you soon.